Before I get into it, I just want to say that this video is fair use, so all the media used in this video is useful criticism, review in a transformative way. All the information I present is public information and everything else is alleged or joke or just my opinion. So the first thing that I want to talk about are the Jake Paul allegations, because a woman named Justine came out and posted a video to her YouTube channel where she accused Jake Paul of sexually assaulting her. She goes through essentially the timeline and the interactions with each other before the incident, and she described Jake and her as having kind of a flirty relationship where they would flirt and they would kiss, but it was never anything more than that, and she never wanted anything more than that. And on one occasion when she and her friends got invited to his house, they were all hanging out and Jake grabbed her hand and took her into his bedroom. And they were just hanging out alone away from everyone else. They were dancing, they were kissing, all that. But then Jake would try to get her onto the bed and he would try to touch her, and he would try to grab her hand and put her hands on areas of his body. But then Justine would just try to move her and his hands away. But then Jake, in response to this, got frustrated.
Normally, not all the time, but normally everybody respects me when I don't want to do sexual things, so I thought that it was fine if I went in his room, and I thought it would be fine to kiss him because I thought he would stop if I didn't want to do anything else. And then at one point he said, if nothing is going to happen, then what's the point? What's the point? I don't know, maybe I could be one of your friends. Maybe I can just be someone that you kiss.
And then going by her story, he refuses to take rejection correctly, like somebody who understands and respects the concept of consent. He forces her to perform oral sex.
And then he gets up. He doesn't go away. This is the point where if what he wanted is sex, he sees he's not gonna get it. This is the point where we would just go elsewhere. You know, go back downstairs where everyone is. Go back to the studio. What am I supposed to do? He was literally, I was still laying down. He was on top of me and holding my head into him. I couldn't even tell him not to. He didn't ask for consent or anything. He knew I didn't want to do anything with him because he said, if nothing's gonna happen, what's the point? And then he just shoves himself in me.
And then after this happened, he wanted to go back with where the others were, and Justine wanted to go into his bathroom to fix her hair and makeup and stuff because she just got messed the fuck up, but he just kind of wouldn't let her.
At this point in his room, after I'm trying to fix my hair and makeup and stuff to get out, he picks up my phone. He was like, come on, let's leave, get your dinosaur phone and let's go. And I was just like, wait a second. Because up until this point, he had been nice to me. He had been sweet to me, even though he was a little socially awkward and sometimes just texting me instead of talking to me when I was right there. When he was talking to me, it was nice and sweet. So this complete 180 and being sexually assaulting me, being just straight up rude, that was just on top of that extra rude.
She also shows this image of her from Snapchat where the location is shown to be in Calabasas, and she says that she took the Snapchat while she was there, and you can see by the location that she was where the Team 10 house was located, and her face was puffy from crying. She then says that she tried to contact Jake Paul again in order to kind of talk about what happened and see if they could have a conversation about it, so she could tell him how she felt about it and that it was wrong. And she says in the video that she was really trying to give him the benefit of the doubt and all that. So she shows the screenshot and says, I was invited back over by other people that lived there. I wanted to talk to him about what happened. He didn't respond anymore.
I just wanted to talk to him and tell him, hey, I didn't consent for this. It made me feel so awful. I've literally only done this with 3 people in my whole life because it's so special to me and you just took that from me. But I couldn't tell him because he never responded, and I'm hoping that my friend Michael talked to Jake. If he ever did talk to him, I don't know. I never got an apology or anything like that. I would have liked to have an apology because that was messed up and I didn't want that, and I didn't say just because I let you kiss me and I let you hold my hand and I let you dance with me in your room, that doesn't give you the right to come in my mouth.
So for this particular story, there is quite a big chunk of people who believe her as well as people who don't, with the second group saying stuff like, she really saying this a week before the fight and didn't even go to the cops. I don't want to ruin somebody's career for something they have done. Yeah, makes sense. If he assaulted you, go to the police. not YouTube. And I feel like these arguments are really fucking weak. Like, what are the police going to do? The fact that you don't recognize how useless police would be in this situation just shows me that you really shouldn't be discussing this kind of topic. Her story doesn't add up. The messages are blue, but the send icon is green. And why is there no arrow near Jake's name like there is on an iPhone? I don't get it. I don't know what the arrow thing is about. I have an Android, but for the green versus blue text messages, you can change your like text settings to like just text, even if you have previously sent iMessages to people. Somebody said, I dislike Jake Paul, but even I think it was consensual. She is just mad she wasn't the one he settled down with. Whether or not she was lying, you can like have your own opinion, but like this specific comment is again just like not a very good argument. It's just a different way of claiming that she regretted it after. Like, it's a very common thing for people to accuse victims of actually like wanting to do it at the time and they're just realizing that they didn't want to do it in the morning. Shocker, this argument isn't usually very valid, and it's just a huge red flag when somebody says something like this, in my opinion. Like, the amount of times that people claim that this happens, that like, you know, women sleep with somebody and then regret it in the morning and claim rape, is infinitely higher than the number of times that this has actually happened. So Jake Paul came forward with a statement which said, sexual assault accusations aren't something that I or anyone should ever take lightly, but to be crystal clear, this claim made against me is 100% false. Not only have I never had any sexual relationship with this individual, but this claim is solely a manufactured accusation and a blatant attempt for attention during a highly visible fight week. This individual is directly using the attention from her social media accounts and video to promote her adult content website and Amazon shopping list, designed for people to buy her gifts. These allegations come conveniently for her almost 2 years after the alleged incident and the week of my fight. At the time of the story, I was in a relationship, and as someone who was a mama's boy and growing up, I respect women and mothers more than anything. I most certainly have never laid a finger on a girl without their consent. So for the most part, it is just like your basic kind of denial. But the fact that he claims to respect anyone, especially women, just tells me that he's lying. And his whole thing of like,
oh, I was in a relationship, so this couldn't have happened.
We know you cheat, Miss Girl. Don't try and hide behind loyalty that you don't have. There is little proof that this happened to her, but there is also very little proof that this didn't happen to her. And I would much rather defend the alleged victim to later find out that they were lying than to defend the accused to later find out that they were actually a rapist. Justine responded on her Instagram story saying, I wasn't even aware that I still had an Amazon wishlist. I just checked and there were literally 6 items on it. I am not looking for gifts or money. I made it very clear that all I wanted from him was an apology and for him to stop doing this to other people. Why would I be doing this for gifts but I only have 6 things on there? Make it make sense. A minor came forward to me about Jake Paul. Apparently I'm not the only one. So if you experience something similar with him, please let me know. We deserve better. And a little thing that I just want to like kind of sneak in here. I hate like all the arguments against her are all very like copy paste arguments against sexual assault victims, not because of like proof, but because they would much rather call a victim a liar than a rapist out for their actions. Like, you know, the whole she's looking for clout, she's looking for this, she's looking for that, it's for attention, she just regretted it in the morning. All these types of arguments are so like, it's just not the vibes. It's not the vibes. Like, yes, obviously those kind of things do happen. People lie about it for attention. People lie about it to get like physical material things. People lie about it because they regretted it after. But why is that like the first thing that your brain jumps to? There is no reason for you to think that, and yet you still do. Somebody else also posted on their Instagram story saying, never touched a girl without consent. Crazy, not what I heard from a friend's experience with you. It's crazy how multiple people have allegedly had non-consensual like encounters with Jake Paul, and people are still denying that he's that type of person, even though he is exactly that kind of person to do something like that. Have we not learned from Dirty Dom? How many victims will it take for you to finally start believing women? The second thing I want to talk about is a band called Tramp, which is a trio made out of Paige, Marissa, and Caroline. So basically they went viral on TikTok when they promoted their new song, which most people didn't like. A lot of people just thought it was cringy and or hard to listen to. The general population of the people who were exposed to them were also pretty confident that they are an industry plant, which is essentially just a group or an individual a part of a group who has connections to the music industry, and they basically have that connection, financially support them so that they can be like promoted and make like the best quality music, and essentially so that they're like destined to succeed from the start. And people don't like industry plants because they're essentially just like taking the spot of people who like deserve it or are struggling in the music industry or anything like that. You know, kind of just think like the college admission scandal kind of vibe, but like in regards to the music industry, and also arguably not as serious because them being like famous or whatever doesn't necessarily prevent other people from being more famous, but it's still considered an issue to a lot of people. And they can very easily be taken advantage by their labels, since they're still like new and up and coming artists that like rely on these labels to get them out there. And the reason that they think they're an industry plant is because all three of them had solo careers before they kind of came together in November of 2020, but none of them made like punk or rock music, which they are now trying to do. There was also like very heavy appearances on people's For You pages, which a lot of people thought was like some sort of promotion thing going on behind the scenes. And I think a little more credit adding to this claim is that like clearly nobody was interested in their music. They were marketing to like, you know, the punk, rock, alt community, and they just like weren't having it. And your For You page is like supposed to be like content that you specifically would like. It's curated for you. And they've also had like massive like shifts in like individuality or like aesthetics or like that kind of stuff. If you were to scroll like further down their Instagrams, you can see that like, you know, there's kind of like a sudden shift. And the people who are like kind of like aware of this group have all like collectively decided that it was a pretty stupid idea for them to market it towards like the people that they've marketed towards, because the punk and the rock and the alt community have all had to deal with like a bunch of fakes and poses for a pretty long time now. So they're probably going to recognize when you're just there for the trend or, you know, just for like the aesthetic or whatever the fuck. So we've had people speculating that they're an industry plant. We've had people speculating that they're not really involved with the community that they're trying to market towards. But people have also kind of criticized the song that went viral on TikTok because it was not only produced by known rapist and abuser Dr. Luke, but also one of the members, Caroline, is signed to a publishing company owned by Dr. Luke for her solo career. The chorus says that they would rather die. The song's called I Would Rather Die, by the way, but the chorus says that they would rather die than sleep with another straight white male. And people had an issue with this because there was like an unnecessary mention of race, like ew, white people. It's also funny because one of the three members, Paige, is married to a straight white guy, and 2 out of the 3 members are straight themselves. And there's another lyric in the song that reads, I don't know how you think we're gonna fuck when you can't get it up. I'm sick of hearing it's the alcohol, and when you're finally in the mood, it lasts like 1 or 2 seconds and then you're done and want a spoon. Now people had an issue with this lyric because it's like taking advantage of a drunk person. Like if they're too drunk to like be in the mood or to get it up, then they're probably too drunk to give consent, and they're probably too drunk for you to hook up with them. They were also like judging how long he lasts and were like genuinely upset at the fact that like he wasn't in the mood, which is, I don't know, kind of the straight white energy that y'all are so against. But I do have some points that I want to point out, like in defense of them, I guess. Firstly, industry plants are more an issue with the system than they are an issue with the people that are the industry plant themselves. And because they're an industry plant, they might be obligated to have songs produced by Dr. Luke, like a contract or something. The phrase straight white guy is like, it's a common phrase, it's a common like saying. So to get upset with people saying, you know, like straight white guys are gross is the equivalent of saying you can't say kill all men, like that's, you can't do that. Or like defending the guys who say rape all women in opposition to kill all men. And another thing, like straight people and like straight people are 2 different things. You could be a straight person and recognize other straight people, and allies and queers often refer to those kind of straights as, well, the straights. So these 2 things seem like a bit like reaching, like y'all are trying a bit too hard to just not like them. You're allowed to just not like somebody. Now people found like the main kind of fan account for this band was a bit suspicious. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Lily Jean or have watched my video on her, but she created like a bunch of fake accounts for them to essentially like pretend to be either like fan accounts or her like literal friends. And it's usually pretty obvious by like how the account is. The name is usually a pretty big giveaway. The name of this fan account is Tramp Stamps Fan, so do what you will with that information. But also it was made very early in their career. This account was made in March of this year, 2021, and they claim to have been fans of them for several months before this. So like essentially when they just started, or when they like had one song, like their first song out, which is, I don't, like, that's a bit, you know what I mean? Maybe they're just using the word fan very loosely, like how a lot of people use the word friend very loosely. Like, if you're friendly with somebody, you call them a friend. Like, oh, they dropped their first song and I like it, so I'm gonna call myself a fan kind of vibe, you know what I mean? But then they also, this fan account also posted this picture of the Stonewall protest and said, "So I've decided that it's better for me to use this platform for positivity rather than spreading negativity by interacting with harassment and trolls. Here's a fan edit I made imagining what it would be like if the tramp stamps were at Stonewall." Which is literally just so weird. Again, 2 of the 3 of them are straight, which often, like, straight people go to Pride and stuff, but it's a bit funky. Like, it's just weird how they would try to, like, force that connection of, like, they would have or should have been at the Stonewall protest. You know what? It's a bit funky. It seems to me like almost as if you're, like, trying to fit into the alt community by being, like, pro-gay or, like, very activist-like. But y'all did it wrong. This is not it. And then somebody responded to them basically asking, like, yo, like, where are they located? Where's this band located? And they responded, like, as if they didn't even fucking read the question. They were like, they were harassed by trolls spreading misinformation and forced to remove the sound from TikTok. That's got nothing to do with the fucking question. They were asked where they were located. So they reiterated the question saying, "No, I'm asking where they're located at. Like, is the band from New York or something?" And then this supposed fan account, who was not the band, said, "We are currently located in Tennessee." So, like, not only did they start going on about, like, the harassment and bullying that this band was facing for absolutely no reason. Like, it's very much, like, defensive influencer moment. But they also referred to themselves as the band. And they have claimed that this screenshot is fake. But there have been, like, multiple screenshots of it. Like, there's this one where you can see that it was an actual thing. And they deleted the tweet. And the person who was asking the question responded like, "Oh, like, we, like, you guys." And this fan account, who isn't the band, has tried to pay people off. There have been 2 separate instances where they have tried to pay somebody who's, like, talked about, like, the whole we situation and offered to give them $5 in exchange for, like, the removal of the post. Now, you might be wondering, why are they trying so hard to, like, present themselves as, like, you know, very accepting, very anti-gay, very much yay Stonewall, as well as going on about, like, random harassment that they've been facing? Like, harassment for what? It's been exposed that Marissa may or may not like black people. She has been proven to have said the N-word publicly twice and responded to a tweet that says, "I've talked to a few Trump supporters and done research, and once you get past the fact he is a neo-fascist bigot, his policies aren't awful. With don't hate the player, hate the game." I'm pretty sure we can hate both if the player happens to be a fascist bigot. But that was just my opinion. I could be wrong. So yeah, they're not very liked at the moment. Maybe take up country or something. Get rid of the punk. Make some country music. I'm sure y'all will fit in with that crowd a lot more. So that's all I have for you guys today. If you liked this video, if you liked me, make sure to like and subscribe. If you didn't like me, make sure to get in contact with my teachers because I bet you have a lot in common. And make sure to stay safe and stay hydrated.